Welcome to Redefining Engagement. I'm Francesca Duma, Director of Audience Development and Strategy at Contribly. And in this show, I speak to leaders and innovators in the media industry so that we can bring tips, wisdom, ideas, and even some things to avoid so that we can all do more engagement better. So without further ado, let's move on to our next guest.
Hello, Thomas. Thank you so much, first of all, for agreeing to chat a little bit about engagement with me today. As you know, at Contribly, we're focusing massively on engagement, but we're also exploring what engagement means for different people within the media in different roles. And we're trying to find a way of creating a common definition of engagement that's going to help move our industry forward. And so first of all, thank you so much for giving me your time today.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. And would you mind starting by telling me like your name, your role, and tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Thomas. I am the Chief Executive Officer of a German regional news outlet called KStA Media, which is a 400-year-old publishing house. So a lot of legacy through hundreds of years. And my responsibility is to care of 3 newspapers, 7 radio stations, and 20 free advertising newspapers, which we publish weekly, and a little bit of more smaller things around in addition. But that's our main my main responsibilities. And the challenge is to transform a 400-year-old media house into an agile, modern, digital organization, which is something that is I love to do, but it is in fact a challenge, as you can imagine. I like challenges. I started my career as a journalist and stepped somehow into a tech-driven market management career. I don't know how it happened, but it happened somehow. So, and since then, I'm busy with establishing digital news business models and trying to transform this industry and helping companies who are struggling with that. And this is my current role here. This has been my role in the past decades of years. And this will be my role until the end of my career, whenever that might be.
Digital transformation is such a massive challenge. And I guess one small piece of that is that audience engagement piece, especially when it's digital. It's completely different to what that might look like in print. What would you say audience engagement means to you?
It means to me at first to be a very complicated thing to cover, because there are so many KPIs, so many aspects that you could take into account or leave it. And so in my as much as I got aware, everybody has its own definition of what is engagement. Values for example, the marketers. They value the AI, the ad impression, not artificial intelligence, but the ad impressions that are where the abbreviation is AI as well. So they value the ad impressions very, very high. If you turn to a let's say to a journalist, maybe he or she is more valuing the stickiness on the article, so the in-depth reading, how long did people read the article, did they read it through or not. If you look at a social media manager, for example, she will have a totally different view on all that stuff. She's more interested in how many impressions she achieved on Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram, or wherever. So there is no one single North Star in engagement for me. To me, as a CEO, from a CEO perspective, the overall most relevant definition of engagement is stickiness, because to me it is important how intensively people engage with our platforms. That must not necessarily be only the platforms we own and operate, That can also be our attendance on Instagram, on TikTok, or elsewhere. So it's very important to see how often people come back. So if somebody comes back, we could maybe hope that we kind of met her or his interests. And so it's very important to see if people come back, if people use us on a regularly basis, because that's a foundation of every revenue growth we ever might achieve.
Mm. That stickiness is something that has come up again and again in these different interviews. And yes, it's so hard to measure. How would you say that this definition that you've just given me, how do you think it has changed? Has your definition evolved in the past few years at all?
Yeah, it has, because at the beginning it was more about the uniques you had on your platforms, and the visits.
Mm.
And today we have a closer look what we did not have 2 or 3 years before. For example, on how much people read. So not how much they click on an article, but how deep they read. Because it has to do, sorry, with the change of ad grids. We have more high paid ads now within the text. So that means if somebody just glances at the headline and the first 5 to 6 article lines, you will not see that higher paid ad that comes after the first or second part of the article and is embedded in between the parts of the text. So for us, this is in terms of advertising revenue, for example, a very important KPI that has developed over the past, let's say 2 or 3 years. So marketers tend to pay more for embedded display ads as they did in the past, where those forms of ads were not that available as they are today. So that's one example. The other one is that we have a closer look at on what people read, because over time the development in advertising was that certain echo systems of advertising are much higher paid than others. So, for example, if you only have people, or if people on your platform only read articles that trigger, let's say, rather pet food advertising, which is paid very poor. So this is fine, but this is not very interesting in terms of revenue growth. And if you manage to engage people with articles that are more intended to trigger high-paid ads, for example, from the car industry or so, then it makes much more sense to try to point or direct people to those articles and not to the others. So the action fields where people advertise had an impact on our measurement of engagement or of the importance of certain engagement KPIs. Yes.
So your definition is massively following the advertising's definition of what they're trying to achieve. You're really linking those two. Well, I guess that kind of answers my next question, which was around, the aims of audience engagement. Is it, in your opinion, that advertising stickiness for advertising, or what are the other aims that might be there? And why should brands be doing more engagement? What's the point?
At the moment, in terms of revenue, which is from a CEO's point of view, of course, the most important thing. It is for the time being, or let's say for the time that we can foresee from here, probably will be more on advertising than on subscription sales. The reason is that to regional publishers, as far as I can survey that, maybe for the German market and for the German-speaking market and a little Europe, has been digital subscriptions has been so far a disappointment for regional publishers because they did not grow up to the scales we wanted them to or we expected them to grow. And the long have been dead saying advertising, right? Still lives, and advertising has a recovery, has a second life, became a second life, or yes, kind of a second life, because from the after the hype of subscriptions, now people rely back on ads because ads are more stable than thought. Ads still have growth potential, even if we have that over inventory all over the web due to ads. We see an interesting movement from advertisers back to news platforms because on news platforms they find certain audiences that they might not find on massive scale platforms where they can ad for cheap, of course, where they have a lot of scale effects, but where they don't have those revenue effects that they need. So people might look at the ads, even people might click on the ads, but the thing for a manufacturer, for example, is do those people buy my products or not? So in some aspects, it might be more interesting for advertisers to put their ads on smaller platforms that might not bring such high scale of displaying the ads, but more of on the CPO or CPL page, so that they bring leads and orders, right? And that's an interesting movement we see coming back, and we hear that from the advertising agencies, the smaller, the big ones as well.
So you're basically saying that advertisers are seeing eventually a higher return on investment by going towards publishers.
Right.
When measuring that is so important, I'm guessing, and like accurately, but also potentially gathering the correct data from the readers to be able to prove that return on investment and that. Well, how are you defining success around that measurements and that data collection?
So our definition of success is that the more precisely we can target audiences, the more successful we are. So the precision of targeting audiences, of building dynamic digital personas, might they be registered, might they be logged in, or might they be anonymous. This is our challenge, and this is where we measure success, and that's very easy because if we mix a certain portion of audience which we think is the right target towards an advertising campaign, for example, and that totally fails, then we are unsuccessful, of course, and that shows us that our data connection and our data interpretation and our persona building is not accurate. And this is the point where we measure success in those terms. Same on subscription selling. If we have, for example, we have a dynamic paywall which we display to people in different ways. Whenever the paywall AI driven gets the awareness that those guy or this person might be able or might be eager to pay, then we show that. And if that does not work, then the targeting wasn't good enough, you see. So this is where we measure success. If we are able to target and to define precisely what kind of personas we have on the platform.
Am I correct in saying that engagement is pretty crucial to that as well, because that helps collect that data and
Yeah, of course.
yeah. And then
The more you do, if you are anonymously on our platform or registered, the more you do, the more we learn about you. So, of course, this is a very high important aspect is engagement there, right?
If you had to measure it, give it an importance measurement from like 1 to 10, 1 being not so important, not as crucial, to 10 being, well, this is actually up there, where would you put engagement on that?
In the term of success measuring,
Yeah.
I would say say it's rather an 8, so very high. Because without engagement, as I said before, there is no precise data collection. The precision of the targeting composes of two things. One thing is the mass of data you collect, so as many as you can, and this is the engagement part. Where without engagement, I won't gather many data. And the second thing is the targeting out of that data. So the precision of the machines, of the algorithms you use for that. And this also has to do with engagement, because if you fail on a campaign targeting, for example, then you learn a lot about it. And if similar personas or similar people, or the same people even, come back to the platform and do more engagement on the platform, we learn more how to target them better, right? So and maybe be more successful in the next attempt to make a good campaign advertising targeting. So I think that's the reason why it deserves at least an 8.
Even I love how you kind of said even failing is a positive learning experience in a way,
Yeah.
in terms of engagement. What would you say the biggest hurdles are in your experience around engagement? What's stopping brands from engaging better?
I think that to my opinion, there are 2 points. One is that we don't know our audiences well enough yet. So we still struggle to understand what is driving people to use a news platform. Might it be the owned and operated one, or an appearance on social media, or an appearance on a gathering platform like Google News or so, or Microsoft News aggregators. So we are not exactly enough understanding why people use news and why people click on a let's say branded news and not on another news. So that's the one thing. And the other thing is, and has to do with the first as well, of course, but it's a kind of separate action field. We don't talk about much enough to our readers. So we have them on our platform, but we don't invite them so much as other maybe vendors do. We don't ask them so often how they feel, if they want to give us feedback on how we performed today, if the article was relevant, they have just read, if they like the way we display pictures, if they like our picture language, for example, if they like our design. So if you go to a e-commerce platform, a vendor platform, you often are asked, how did you like your experience? How was it? How can we do better? And all that stuff. Search for a publisher who does that, right? So
We're not very good at it.
from time to time, you will see that, but these are exceptions, and I think this is a mistake. We should do more in that field.
That's definitely what we're trying to achieve on our side. That is for sure. Like, we're so used to in our industry broadcasting out, and we're so not used to pulling more in. And yeah, I can't agree with you more. I can't agree more. And what about in terms of strategies? From your experience, what has proven the most effective in engaging audiences?
So far, as I see today, what has proven the most successful just came up a few years ago, or even 1 year ago, or 2 or 3. It's not more. It's the personalization of content, surfacing topics of interest to the individual, That has paid off most in the past, let's say, 2 years. We are not in there for longer. And I think this is the most successful and the most measurable hub we saw in the last years. So since we curate our websites by 80% via AI and by only 20% via editors' picks, the click-through rates on the offer teasers to the individual in the AI part of the platform has grown up from at least 50% to up to over 80%. So people click 80% more on the teasers they are offered via the AI than on the teasers in that one-size-fits-all form that usually is given by the editorial staff. This is not blaming editors. This is just a measurement, but editors never can, because editors do not know who is clicking on the website in this moment and on the next moment. So, so they can't do an individual program for every person. That's nothing a man or a woman ever can achieve. But a machine can, because a machine is much faster, a machine is much more effective, and a machine is much more deeply in analysis as a human ever can be. So it has more power in its processors. Like it's a brain for humans and a processor for AI. But let's say the AI brain, the processor is much more powerful than a human's brain ever can be. So that's the reason why the biggest hub of success proving things in engagement have come up just the recent years.
That is a crazy number. That's I can imagine the first time that came out, the editors were sitting in the corner going, I thought I was doing a really good job, but obviously, you
Yeah.
can't do it for everybody. And
Oh.
and I guess it's full circle. It's, the AI, you have to collect the correct data to be able to feed it to the AI for the AI to then feed the right things to the right people. And in your opinion, at what point in this cycle that we're creating, especially when it comes to AI, are we considering audience engagement? Like within the editorial experience, for editors, at what point should engagement be considered?
All the time. There's no certain point, I think. If you don't care about engagement, you don't care about your audience growth, then you don't care about your audience at all. Because somebody who is buying something, for example, let's take a digital subscriber, and not using it because she or he is not cared of by the publisher, and that is engagement. Where you drive engagement or you don't. So, for example, asking how are we doing today and how can we do better? And I think there's no certain point. Engagement has to be on the table all the time. That's the reason why we have a rather big audience development team in our digital competence center, because we think that engagement is key to building up communities. Communities are something that are, let's say, not easy, but rather easy to grow up, but to keep them running. That is the important point. And this is something that is always based on engagement work. Without engagement work, you won't keep a community alive. But a community, so maybe a special interest community on certain topics, can be a big environment for advertising as well, for example, because there you can target the individuals as precisely as possible, right, for the advertisers. And so, no, I think there is no certain point where engagement should come in. Engagement should never have to come in. It should always be inside from the beginning.
I agree so much. And this is really interesting that you have such a big audience development team, and that this is clearly a massive focus because it's crucial. Do you have any examples of audience engagements that has surprised you the most? Something that has happened that you just really weren't expecting when it came to your audience?
Yeah. I think some examples. So, for example, we started an initiative that we call KSTA Green. This is everything we do in terms of environment, climate change, social caring in your community, in your neighborhood, and so on. And we created that at first when we started it as a on and off a combination of a newsletter that was the fastest growing newsletter we ever had. So this was a big surprise for us, and it held and it still holds the highest opening rates we have in all our newsletters. We have some 10 or 20 newsletters on the track, but this one is that one with the highest opening rates. I never had thought that such a, let's say, I won't say a niche, but a special interest topic like a green would have so many and so engaged readers. And even the off events, so the offline events, we combined with a campaign of being KSTA Green, so bringing people to stage discussions, for example, to panels in Cologne, in the city. We had crowds of audiences we never would have expected, and so this was a big surprise that you can, if you get the right topic and if you set the right tone. I think it's important to set the right tone. If you manage to do that, and this is something that still has to be done by you, right? This is nothing an AI can do for you or any other machine. So if you set the right tone, then you can, even in a special interest field, can get a lot of engagement. It does not have to be a mass field of interest where you succeed. It can be a smaller niche as well. So that is one thing. The other thing is, this is nothing I should say as a journalist, but to be honest, one of the most successful engagement, let's say, aspects in our publishing is Sudoku. Yeah, and this is a fact. Ask the guys from other publishers, especially in the Anglo-Saxon language room. You will have a lot of similarities. That the fact that this is so engaging, we got aware of as we failed in delivering it, because we had a technical damage in our e-paper and on other platforms where we display Sudoku and Wordle and other games, and that period we failed to deliver, or we delivered but it was not playable, so you could not set the figures inside the application. We had a shitstorm in our customer service that we never had experienced before, with maybe failing in a news coverage or so. So we learned, and that was surprisingly to us, that something that seems so lightweight, like just a game. Sudoku is not a flat game; it's an intelligent game.
Right.
So people have to think and engage themselves to solve those games. We were very surprised how much important this is to people, and so this is the reason why I'm pledging for doing more discussion with your readers, doing more asking them what they really do on your platforms and want to do on your platforms and what is important for them. Maybe something that you think that is very important from your position as a publisher or a broadcaster might be totally useless for your readers, and other things that you might think, for example, like a lightweight game, that might be so super important for your readers. And you only will get aware of this and can do the right operations on it if you, like us, fail and learn it then, or if you ask your readers without failing a delivery, what rather would be the better you, right?
I love that example. I used to be a teacher, so there's a little bit of me that hears these engagement pieces. Sudoku as an example, it's piquing interest, it's a challenge. What do
Yeah.
things that readers want? habit building. They know it happens every day at a certain time. You get excited about it. And also discussions. And we work with brands that do very similar things. And I think there is a technology side to the engagement. Like, you need tools, you need AI, you need data when you're looking at how you're engaging with your readers. How are you doing that at the moment? What is the like basic tech that you need in your teams to be able to achieve what you're trying to achieve?
So first of all, it's the simple measurement, of course, measuring how often people come, how long they stay, and all that stuff. We do that via classical standard like Adobe Analytics. And so this is the base, the very, very base, the grassroots base of let's say measuring engagement on a very first level. On the second, third, and more levels, we have partly self-developed tools which we use to measure certain very specific KPIs that the standard platform like Adobe Analytics does not. Or if you want them to do, you have to pay a high bill for the integration. So you rather do it on your own. That's cheaper. Then you have more control of it in addition, which is an aspect very important as well. And we use some market survey technologies. So maybe where we try to, or don't think it's only a try. I think we do actually find out which topics are high rated in the general interest in the market, in the German market, in our regional market, and even maybe international markets. So that's what we are doing for news, of course. That's what we are doing for e-commerce, for example, as well. So you can see if something is very hot traded at the moment. And then you try to build up a very fast and affiliate article where you have some affiliate links in, or you do a product introduction site with a lot of products that are around this sales trend in e-commerce. And so if you're fast enough, you still get a part of the wave and rise your e-commerce revenues. So that's what we are doing as well. So I think survey tools, so basic analytics, then specialized analytics done by ourselves, and market surveys that are the main technologies we use to drive engagement.
And in terms of technology, well, I guess when you think of technology, you always think of the future. Where do you see the future of audience engagement heading in the next 5 to 10 years, for example, for our industry?
I don't
Big
dare
question.
to look 10 years.
Five.
Up 5 maybe. So I think it will get more important to find out and to measure the journey of people throughout your appearances. Not only what we do today is we detect a persona, for example, on Instagram, and what she or he does with our appearance on Instagram. We try to engage her or him more. But this stays within Instagram. The same thing we might do on Facebook or TikTok and our own owned and operated platforms as well. But the more you talk to people, the more you get aware that people have a journey from platform to platform and come across your offerings on many channels. And I think for engagement, it's important to find out how people, or if you maybe meet the same people without knowing that you meet the same people, you know. So you
Yeah.
have an engaged persona on Instagram, for example, and you have an engaged persona on KStA DE, but you don't know that this is the same individual, because you're not today. We're not able, or we're not good enough able to detect whether these persons that we have on Instagram We have also on TikTok or on our platforms, for example, or on our podcasts, for example, or on our video appearances on YouTube or wherever we might be. So I think this is something within the next 5 years that's becoming more and more important, because that makes you able to cross-sale again ads, for example. Because when I know that this person has a journey from my platform to my Instagram appearance to my pop, 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 I can target an advertising campaign over multi-channel,
Mm.
and and on the other hand, maybe if I find out more about these behaviors as I described, you also can find out how to, let's say, at the end, get people stuck to your owned and operated platforms, which of course for us is the most preferred kind of usage of our offerings. And I think if we can more precisely detect those journeys, then we have a chance to engage people more on our platforms than we can today. I think this is where it leads to multi-channel detection of user journeys and the engagement in the next years.
It's a bit virtual worldy. There's a lot of talk of, how the blockchain is using blockchain technology to follow people through the internet is something that obviously we clearly need very badly.
Right.
Super interesting. And just to finish off, let's say another brand is going into their engagement journey. Do you have like a piece of advice? What's your go-to piece of advice when it comes to engagement? If someone was to start today, what would the first thing that they should focus on be?
They should do what we do so bad. Get into a dialogue with their users from the first moment. Put that deep into your DNA, which you can when you start. When you have 400 years on your back, this is not that easy to implement it there. But you should do that from the first moment. Just be engaged with your users as they are engaged with you. So because then you learn a lot. And the second thing is, I would, if I have to start something, I would not try to focus on only one platform, because the social demographic KPIs and measures of people today are so differentiated that you won't find enough people on only one channel. That's what I'm convinced of. I don't have a chance to get very young people to my old-fashioned news platform, but I have a good chance to meet them or let them meet and greet with my brand on let's say TikTok. And I think what we are doing now is a catch-up game as publishers. So we are trying to get into platforms where we should have been years before and we didn't recognize it. So my advice is engage with your users from the first moment on, and use multi platforms as you can to find out where your best audience is for whatever purpose you have. You will find that if you try and error, you won't find it out if you just make up your mind and think, okay, that might be the best platform for us. Maybe it's the worst.
Great piece of advice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time. Some amazing nuggets of information there, some great definitions. Yeah, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.